Met Children. My name is Taylor, and today I am here with special author guest Suzanne Young, the author of the Program series and Hotel Ruby. Let's jump right into the question.
Okay, I'm excited.
Woo! Okay. What is the plot of the epidemic?
You know, the epidemic is, it's kind of tough to explain because it is a sequel to a prequel.
Right.
So it's both of those things, which made writing it super fun. So the remedy is about a girl who takes on the identities of others. She's hired from what they call the grief department. And when a parent loses a child, she goes in and dresses as the child and acts as the child so that the family can get a chance to say all the things never got a chance to say and get closure. And so they call these people closers. So she goes in and closes out people's lives. So in the remedy, each time she does this, she's starting to lose a little bit of her real self. Like she starts to get lost in her identities and in fact like falls in love with a family, with one of the dead girl's boyfriends, which is kind of complicated.
Very
complicated. And at the end of the book, you know, there's kind of this big reveal and it kind of changes her life and kind of her destiny, I guess you'd say. So the epidemic picks up 5 minutes after the remedy left off, and she is kind of on the run, and she's searching for Dr. Arthur Pritchard, who, if you've read the other books, is the creator of the program. But these books can be read independently of the series. And so she's looking for him and his daughter. And so it's kind of her and a group of closers kind of get together and are trying to see what's going on in society, because there's a big shift going on in society.
Will we see more of the family from the remedy, or is that like too spoilery to discuss?
Yeah, no, you know, I told their story in the remedy. Sometimes it's tough when you write a series, at least for me, to know when to end it and to kind of know like when the characters are done, because I hate to add more trauma to them than they need to. Like I often have people ask me, you know, can Sloane and James come back in another book? And I'm kind of like, haven't they been through enough? Like,
why do you want them to be tortured more?
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to hurt them if they come back. So I think, you know, the remedy story resolves itself for the most part, but Quinlan's story goes on. But I love the epidemic in that you finish out this story of the closers of Quinlan, of Deacon, but you also get started on what then becomes the program. So you kind of have that bridge.
Awesome. I loved the remedy. I cried so much. I actually read it. Was it like Saturday or Sunday? I can't remember what day. And I just sat and I read the whole thing in one sitting, and man, I was a mess.
Were you shocked by the ending?
I was really shocked by the ending. I mean, I'm gonna say it. I was not expecting her to like be a closer for somebody else. Like I was not expecting that. I was like, what is this madness?
It was kind of, I wasn't necessarily planning it that way. Like about halfway through, I realized what was going to happen, and so when that kind of big reveal happened, it was one of those things I had to immediately like email my editor, like, you're not going to believe what's going to happen. She's like, don't tell me, because she likes to discover it on her own. And then the epilogue, I love epilogues. I'm just like a total epilogue person. And the epilogue for that one was really fun too.
Yeah, the epilogue was fun. All of it is fun.
Fun if you like to be really sad all the time. I guess.
What did you want to do when you were a child?
I wanted to be a writer. You know, when I was in middle school, I was writing short stories, and I would write short stories starring all of my friends, and they'd be murder mysteries, and they each get killed off one by one, and it'd be one of them was the murderer. And so, you know, every time I'd write one, someone would want to be like, put me in your story, kill me off. It's like, yeah. It was a different time then. And then, you know, I went to school for creative writing, but there was a time I wanted to be an actor as well.
Okay.
So I was kind of weighing theater major or creative writing major. Both of those, my parents were like, what? What's happening? How do those be the two choices?
Did you do like drama in high school and stuff?
Yeah, I was really all through high school and college, but also in community theater too.
Okay.
So I loved acting, and it was really fun because I was kind of shy, and but when I was on stage, I was able to kind of to go through that. And my son, who's 15, he wants to be an actor.
That's really cool.
And he just recently was in a school production where he was the White Rabbit in Alice in
I
Wonderland.
saw that.
I was the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, and he's like, cool.
So the program takes very, very serious topics and then kind of changes them in a very inventive way, at least. I think so. I love them. And I was wondering where you drew your inspiration from.
The program is one of those books that it didn't come from just one place. It was kind of a collection of places. It's tough because I'm actually a really private person, so I don't typically, I don't talk about it a lot online. I just, I think both being a teacher and a parent and just a private person overall. But, it came from, I originally started writing it as a contemporary novel about a girl who attempted suicide. And then she had to return to school with everyone knowing this. And then suddenly her mental health is up for discussion and debate. Like, other people get to judge if, you're sick or not, and how cruel that can be. So I was writing that story, and it turned out, when you're writing things like that, there's always kind of a snap judgment from other people when they read those stories. And I had, with teaching, I had been reading Fahrenheit 451 and in 1984, I read it a little bit later, but those kind of stories that were these bigger stories. And I found that if you exaggerate it, sometimes you can see the truth in the story in a different way. Like you're not as close to it when it's kind of the bigger story. And so I felt like I was able to be more honest because it was in this epidemic size. At the same time, I had to research suicide clusters, and
that research was really hard.
Oh, it was really tough, and it's something that is a problem. Even when I wrote it in 2010, it was a problem. Now it's more so now. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about or address. But it's a real problem. But also, the treatments that I was discussing in the book, those are also based on real treatments.
Right.
Based on different PTSD treatments for memory manipulation and things like that. So there was a lot of research in it, and I have to say, for the program especially, and the treatment, like lobotomies, like a lot of really tough research. But ultimately, I also had another story that I had written that was a love story, and I took Sloane and James from that story, like the basics of them, and they were in the program, and I wanted to tell their story of, this love story of you have this couple that have this long history together. If you erased that history and they met again, would they fall in love the same way? So how much of our relationships is based on our past experiences?
Did you intend to write Quinn's story, like The Remedy, or was that like later on?
What's funny, what I loved about the program when I wrote it is I didn't want to explain how the world got to where it was, because that wasn't the point. Like, sometimes you're in the middle of this horrible situation, and you know what? Like, how you got there isn't really the immediate problem, it's how you're going to get through it. And so I didn't want to explain it. Like, that was purposeful. When I finished that series, I started another book, and I had an idea of this girl that has this very, heavy task of helping families through their grief. And as I was writing it, I was like, this takes place after the program. And I was writing a little bit more, and I was like, this takes place before the program. Oh my goodness, this is how it all connects. And so it just kind of naturally found its way, and then once I knew that was the path, I was able to find the story. So sometimes you don't intend to go there with a story, but it kind of finds you.
So was the end of the treatment planned from the beginning, and more specifically, did you know Rome was going to be a handler? Like, I did not expect that. I was like, what is
really?
this?
I have to say that Realm is probably my most controversial character in that, people either love him or hate him, and it's never an in-between. And I loved how complicated he was, and I knew from the beginning he was a handler. But at one point, they had such good rapport and chemistry. Yeah. And it wasn't so much a love triangle as in, she was trying to choose between him and James. She didn't remember James, when they were kind of having their relationship. And I loved how complicated he was, and I thought, well, maybe they could be together. But then I was like, no. He's a handler. And so when he stabbed her in the leg with that syringe, and I was like, ooh, people are going to be mad about that.
I was upset, but I forgive you.
And, and then in the treatment, I felt bad because you got to see just kind of how tortured he is. Right. I mean, it was really a dark book for him. But then I wrote a short story, I don't know if you know, a short story called The Recovery. It is an ebook only, and it's Realm, and him and James go on a road trip, and he is going to find all the people that he worked with in the program and give them back their memories. He's got their files. So him and James are going to find these people, and he's taking the punishment. Like he wants to make amends for what he's done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and Dallas is in it, and he tells her what he's done. And
yeah, because the end of the treatment just had me like a mess.
I'll tell you, when I wrote those last words of the treatment, I just cried my eyes out because I was like,
yeah.
well, if that doesn't sum up the whole series, I don't know what does.
You matter. And I was just
yeah.
like,
yeah.
James has a ton of quippy comments, like
Yeah.
at least while he has his memories. Did you ever think of something he'd say like while you were in public and be like, I have to write this down?
Oh gosh, all the time. Well, my phone is basically like where I take my notes, and sometimes I'll be driving and just put on I have like that Dragon software and just talk as if I'm the characters, and then transfer it. But for him, I love James. I think his personality, yeah, he's not perfect and he doesn't say perfect things, but I think that's what's so real is, he's so comfortable. Like, that's the thing, when we talk to our friends, we're not always, I mean, maybe it's just me. No. We're not always polite. You joke with your friends, you call him names, I don't know. And so I felt like the fact that he was kind of so casual and, the way he would talk to Sloane, to me that was so real.
Right, he's kind of a no-filter character.
Yeah,
I never cry while writing the series because I cried so much. I'm a big book crier.
For me, if I don't cry, then it just doesn't, it's not authentic for my style. So anything that makes other people cry, I definitely cried while writing it.
What scene do you think made you cry the absolute most out of all of the scenes?
Oh, in the program, I would say there was a scene with, it probably wouldn't be the saddest scene for other people, but for me the saddest scene was when she was in the program and she took the black pill and they said say goodbye to James, and she had the memory of like him coming out of the water, and to me it was just so sad because they were going to take that away and she never will get it back, and it's like to steal something so precious.
Okay, so if your characters were thrown into the Hunger Games spontaneously, which one do you think would win?
Realm.
Yeah.
It would be Realm. Michael Realm could survive anything, I'm pretty sure. Maybe Dallas. No, Dallas would be too emotional. Michael Realm.
Like, why exactly?
Because I think he would do what needs to be done. Like,
yeah.
I feel like he would be cutthroat and survive.
And then who do you think would be the first to die?
Miller, because Miller's always the first to die. Poor Miller!
Poor Miller. My last question for you is, what would you like to say to the viewers?
If you've watched the whole thing, thank you so much for sitting through it, and I hope, the books, if you get a chance to read them, I hope they inspire you, and I hope you see the overall message of hope, and I hope if you are an aspiring writer that you'll kind of follow your dream and go through, because there'll be a lot of kind of hard turns to make, but yeah, if you really want to do it, then you can, so good luck.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye! It was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, and I was like, I'm gonna read this book because I want to go on Friday just so I can meet Pierce. Tell my dad, I'm gonna meet Pierce Brown, and you're gonna be in there, and you're gonna help me film, and it's going to be awesome. Do you know what? I met Pierce Brown, so it's signed, and it says, to Taylor, and just... The next book I have is Caretaker by Josie Russell. Now, this book actually is really like my aesthetic. Like, this book just looks so cute with me.